The galaxy rejected them. Humanity welcomed them in Part 4. The stand. The assembly. Fleet arrived like a storm of metal and fire. 50 warships dropped out of hyperspace above Nova Bizon, their hulls gleaming with weapons that could burn cities to ash. Each one was larger than anything humanity had ever built. Captain Hyan Wu watched them from the observation deck of Defense Station Alpha. It was a small platform, barely more than a converted mining station, hanging in orbit above the colony. It was supposed to protect the world below. Against 50 warships, it was nothing. All hands to battle stations, Hyan Wu announced, his voice calm despite the fear in his heart. This is not a drill. The enemy has arrived. Around him, human and Valari crew members moved with practiced efficiency. Over the past weeks, volunteers from the refugee population had joined the defense forces. They could not fight, but they could monitor systems, relay messages, and fill the gaps left by too few trained soldiers. One of them was De Jong, a Valari engineer who had once designed starship engines on his homeworld. He had studied human technology with desperate intensity, learning everything he could to help those who had saved his people. The shield generators are ready, De Jong reported. I have increased their efficiency by 12%. It is not much, but it might buy us time. Every second matters, Hyan Wu said. Good work. Admiral G1's voice came through the communication system. She was aboard the flagship Defiance, leading the fleet of 12 human warships that faced the assembly armada. All stations, this is Admiral G1. The enemy will attempt to intimidate us into surrender. They believe we are too weak to fight. They believe we will break. She paused. They are wrong. Today, we show the galaxy what humanity is made of. Not ships, not weapons, heart, courage, the willingness to stand for what is right, even when we are afraid. On the surface below, Yuna stood in the colony's central shelter. Around her, thousands of civilians waited, human and Valari together. Children clung to parents. Elders held hands with strangers. Everyone watched the screens, showing the fleet above. Bora pressed close to Yuna's side. Will we die? The girl asked quietly. Yuna did not lie. I do not know. But whatever happens, we will face it together. I am not afraid, Bora said. The humans are brave. We can be brave too. Yuna held her tight, marveling at the strength in this small child who had lost everything and still found hope. In space. The assembly commander opened communications. His face appeared on every screen, cold and arrogant. Humans. You have 30 minutes to surrender the Valari refugees and power down your weapons. Do this, and we will simply annex your colonies. Refuse, and we will burn them to dust. G1's response was immediate. This is Admiral G1 of Earth's Defense Fleet. We decline your offer. The Valari are under our protection. If you want them, you will have to go through us. You have 12 ships, the commander said, almost laughing. We have 50. This is not a battle. This is an execution. Then come execute us, G1 said calmly. If you can. The assembly fleet moved forward, expecting quick surrender. They did not understand humans. They had never fought a species that valued principles over survival. The first surprise came from the asteroid field. Humans had spent weeks converting mining ships into weapon platforms, hiding them among the rocks. As the assembly fleet approached, these hidden ships launched missiles from unexpected angles, forcing the enemy to scatter and defend. The second surprise came from the civilian transports. Dozens of cargo vessels flew directly at the fleet, their holds filled with nothing but rocks and scrap metal. They were decoys, programmed to appear as warships on sensors. The assembly wasted precious missiles destroying empty ships while the real human fleet maneuvered into position. The third surprise came from the communication systems. Human engineers had studied assembly technology for weeks, finding weaknesses. Now they flooded enemy frequencies with noise and false signals, disrupting coordination between ships. "They are not supposed to fight like this," an assembly officer reported in confusion. "They are supposed to surrender." "Then destroy them," the commander ordered. "All ships, engage." The battle became chaos. Human ships darted between larger enemies, too small and fast to be easily targeted. They struck at weak points, at engine systems and weapon arrays, then disappeared before retaliation could find them in the skies above Nova Bizon. Pilot Sua led a squadron of fighters against incoming bombers. Her craft was tiny compared to the assembly vessels, but she was faster, more agile, and far more determined. "Break formation and engage individually," she ordered her pilots. "Do not let them reach the surface." The fighters screamed through the sky, their weapons flashing. Sua destroyed 3 bombers in the first pass, her hand steady despite the terror in her heart. Around her, she watched friends die. She watched ships explode in brilliant flames. She kept fighting. A bomber slipped through, heading for the civilian district. Sua pursued, pushing her craft beyond its limits. She caught it just before it could release its payload, her weapons tearing through its hull. The explosion threw her fighter spinning. Alarms screamed. Systems failed. She crashed into a hillside, her craft crumpling around her. She crawled from the wreckage, bleeding and broken. Above her, the battle continued, but the bombers had stopped coming. Her squadron had held the line in orbit. The battle reached a stalemate. The assembly had superior numbers and firepower, but the humans refused to break. Every time a human ship was destroyed, the others fought harder. Every time a station fell, the survivors joined other crews and kept fighting. Captain Haiyan Wu's station took a direct hit. Half his crew was killed instantly. Fires burned through multiple decks. The shield generator that Daeyoung had improved was failing. "We need to evacuate," his first officer reported. "No." Haiyan Wu wiped blood from his face. "We hold until the Admiral orders otherwise." "How are our weapons?" 50% operational. Then we are still in this fight." Daeyoung worked frantically to keep systems running. His hands moved over consoles designed for human fingers, adjusting, repairing, compensating. He was not a warrior, but he had found his own way to fight. The assembly commander watched his losses mounting with disbelief. He had expected surrender within minutes. Instead, 2 hours had passed, and the humans were still fighting. He had lost 8 ships. 8 ships to primitives. "Offer them terms," he ordered finally. "Tell them they can keep the Valari, but they must pay reparations and accept second-class status in galactic affairs. They must acknowledge assembly superiority." The message was transmitted to Admiral G1. Her response came immediately. "No? No?" The commander stared at his screen. "You are losing. Your fleet is crippled. Your stations are burning. You cannot win." "Maybe not," G1 replied, "but we can make you bleed. We can make this victory cost more than it is worth. We can show the galaxy that the assembly is not invincible." She leaned forward, her eyes blazing. "And we can prove that there are things worth fighting for, even when you cannot win. The Valari trusted us. We will not betray that trust. Not for survival. Not for peace. Not for anything." The assembly commander hesitated. He looked at the battle raging around him, at the wreckage of his ships, at the desperate humans who refused to surrender. "You would die for these refugees?" he asked. "These resource burdens that your own galaxy rejected?" "They are not burdens," G1 said. "They are family. And yes, we would die for them." On the surface, Yuna heard these words through the shelter's communication system. Tears ran down her face. Beside her, Bora stood straighter, her young face filled with fierce pride. "Family," the girl whispered. "We are family." Around them, humans and Valari clasped hands. They were terrified. They were exhausted. But they were together. Whatever came next, they would face it as one dot above them. The battle continued. But something had changed. The assembly commander looked at his fleet, his losses, and the humans who refused to break. And for the first time in his long career, he began to wonder if victory was worth the price. The galaxy rejected them. Humanity welcomed them in Part 5, the family 5 years later. Una stood on a stage in the heart of Nova Bizan, looking out at a crowd that filled the great plaza and spilled into the streets beyond. Humans and Valari stood together, their clothing mixed with elements from both cultures. Children ran between legs, laughing in 2 languages. Banners flew overhead, marking the anniversary of Unity Day, the day the assembly fleet withdrew. It had not been victory in the traditional sense. The humans did not destroy the enemy armada, but they hurt it. They costed ships and soldiers that the assembly could not easily replace. And more importantly, they showed the galaxy something it had never seen before, a species willing to sacrifice everything for strangers. The assembly commander eventually pulled back his fleet. The cost of conquest had grown too high. The primitives were not worth it. Let them keep their burdens. 5 years later, Nova Bizan had transformed. Valari architecture rose beside human buildings, elegant spires and curved domes blending with practical towers and sturdy homes. Valari restaurants served food alongside human cafes. Schools taught both languages, both histories, both futures. Una herself had changed. She was no longer just a refugee leader. The humans had invited her to join their governing council, the first non-human to serve in such a position. She represented not just the Valari, but the idea that different species could build something together. Beside her on the stage stood the people who had made this possible. Governor Dongho, older now but still kind. Dr. Hannah, who had healed thousands. Tasu, who had crossed the void in a tiny shuttle to offer hope to strangers. Tasu stood with his wife now, a Valari woman named Yunbai, whom he had met during the refugee crisis. In his arms, he held their daughter, a child with her mother's dark eyes and her father's stubborn chin. The first of many mixed children, born to a world that welcomed difference. Elder Miru sat in a place of honor, surrounded by the children he had taught over the years. His voice was weaker now, but his spirit remained strong. He had kept Valari culture alive and helped it grow into something new, something blended with human traditions. And there was Bora. She was 13 now, tall and confident. She stood beside her human friend Jin Wu, both of them wearing the uniforms of Nova Bizan's youth council. She had not forgotten the darkness of her early years, but she had grown beyond it. She had become a bridge between 2 peoples. "Thank you all for coming," Una began, her voice carrying across the plaza. 5 years ago, we arrived on this world with nothing. We were starving, sick, and hopeless. We had been rejected by an entire galaxy. We had no reason to believe anyone would ever help us. She paused, looking at the faces before her. But the humans proved us wrong. They did not see burdens when they looked at us. They saw people. They saw neighbors. They saw family waiting to be found. In the crowd, Captain Hyung Woo listened with his crew. His station had been destroyed in the battle, but he had survived. He now commanded a new station, crewed by humans and Valari working side by side. Pilot Sua stood nearby, leaning on a cane. Her injuries from the crash had never fully healed, but she had become a trainer for new pilots, passing on her skills to the next generation. Day-Yong, the engineer who had improved the shield generators, now led a joint technology initiative. Human and Valari scientists worked together, combining their knowledge to create innovations neither species could have achieved alone. Today, we celebrate more than survival, Yuna continued. We celebrate what we have built together. A community where two species live as one. A home for those who had none. A family bound not by blood, but by choice. She gestured to the edge of the crowd, where a new group stood watching. They were not human or Velari. They were Korath, a species with scaled skin and gentle eyes. Behind them stood Mavak, small and furred, and Sen, tall and willowy, all of them refugees. All of them rejected by the galaxy. All of them welcomed by humanity. Word of Nova Bazan spread across the stars, Yuna said. Other species heard what happened here. They heard that humans fought and bled for strangers. They heard that there was one place in the galaxy where the unwanted could find home. And they came. She smiled at the new arrivals. To our Korath friends, to our Mivek neighbors, to our Sen brothers and sisters, welcome. You are safe here. You are wanted here. You are home. The crowd cheered. Yuna saw tears on many faces, human and alien alike. Governor Dongho stepped forward to make the announcement that had been prepared for this day. Today, we formally established the Haven Alliance, he declared. An open coalition welcoming any species rejected by the Galactic Order. We offer sanctuary, community, and partnership to all who come in peace. He looked at the gathered crowd. The Galactic Assembly rules through fear and exclusion. They grow strong by keeping others weak. But we believe in a different way. We believe that diversity makes us stronger. That compassion makes us richer. That the unwanted of the galaxy can become the foundation of something beautiful. Yuna watched as representatives from each species came forward to sign the founding documents. Human, Velari, Korath, Mivik, Sen. 5 species united by rejection, bound by hope. Far away, in the cold halls of Assembly headquarters, Ambassador Kreth watched a broadcast of the ceremony. His 4 eyes narrowed as he saw what humanity had built from the scraps the galaxy threw away. This is dangerous, he said to his aides. They are creating a rival power. They are gathering all those we rejected and forging them into something united. Should we intervene? An aide asked. Kreth considered. He remembered the battle above Nova Bazan. He remembered the determination in Admiral Giwan's eyes. He remembered the cost of fighting creatures who did not know how to surrender. No, he said finally. Not yet. Let them play their games with the unwanted. How strong can outcasts really become? But deep inside, he felt something he had not experienced in centuries of diplomatic conquest. Back in Nova Bazan. The celebration continued into the night. Yuna found a quiet moment away from the crowd, standing at the edge of the plaza where she could see the stars. Bora found her there. What are you thinking about? The girl asked. Yuna smiled. I am thinking about a dying ship drifting in darkness. I am thinking about a small shuttle that appeared when we had lost all hope. I am thinking about a human voice asking if we needed help. She put her arm around Bora's shoulders. I am thinking about how much has changed, how much we have been given, how much we must protect. Bora leaned into her. The galaxy still hates us. The Assembly still wants us gone. Yes, but they cannot touch us now. We are not alone anymore. We are part of something bigger. Family, Bora said. Family. Yuna agreed. They stood together under the stars, watching ships come and go. Ships carrying refugees from distant worlds. Ships carrying hope to those who had none. The galaxy had rejected them. Humanity had welcomed them in. And nothing would ever be the same, somewhere among those distant stars. More outcasts were hearing the story of Nova Bazan. More rejected species were learning that there was one place in the universe where they might belong, and they were beginning to find their way home. The galaxy rejected them. humanity welcomed them in part. 3. The ultimatum. The assembly diplomat arrived in a ship that gleamed like a blade. It descended through the clouds of Nova Bizan without permission, without warning, as if the colony were already conquered territory. Ambassador Kreth emerged from his vessel surrounded by armed guards. He was Torvin, a species known for their height, their cold logic, and their complete lack of mercy. His gray skin stretched tight over sharp bones. His 4 eyes swept across the gathered humans with obvious disgust. Yuna watched from a distance as Dongho and Taesu went to meet him. Behind her, the Lari refugees huddled together, their brief happiness already turning to familiar fear. "This is illegal," Kreth announced, his voice carrying across the field. The Galactic Assembly declared the Valari species to be economic burdens unfit for settlement assistance. By harboring them, you violate Assembly law. "We are not Assembly members," Dongho replied calmly. "We applied for membership. We were rejected. Therefore, we are not bound by your laws." Kreth's 4 eyes narrowed. "You were rejected because you are primitives. Your species barely mastered space travel. You have no military worth mentioning. You survive only because you are not worth conquering." He paused, letting his words sink in. "Until now, is that a threat?" Taesu asked. "It is a promise. Remove the Valari within 30 standard days, or face consequences. Trade sanctions. Exclusion from galactic markets. And if necessary," Kreth smiled coldly, "enforcement. And if we refuse?" Dongho asked. "Then you will learn why the Assembly rules this galaxy, and you do not." The diplomat returned to his ship and departed without another word. Silence hung over Nova Bizan like a storm cloud. That night, Earth's leaders gathered in emergency session. Their faces appeared on screens across all human colonies. They debated for hours. The arguments were familiar. Practical voices said to comply. The Valari were only 3,000 souls. Earth's economy depended on galactic trade. Was it worth risking everything for strangers? Other voices disagreed. They spoke of principles, of dignity, of what kind of species humans wanted to be. Yuna watched the debate from her small room in Nova Bizan. Bora slept beside her, peaceful and unaware. The child had finally started smiling. She had started laughing. She had started healing Dot, and now it might all be taken away. A knock came at her door. Taesu entered, looking exhausted but determined. "The council is divided," he said. "Some want to comply. They say we cannot fight the entire galaxy." "They are right," Yuna said quietly. "You cannot. You should send us away. Find us a ship, point us toward empty space. We will manage. You will die. We were dying before you found us. At least this way, you survive." Taesu sat down heavily. "Is that what you want? To die alone in the dark? What I want does not matter. I have learned this. The universe does not care what the unwanted want. I care." Taesu's voice was fierce. "My people care. Do you know what is happening right now across Earth and all our colonies? People are protesting. They are demanding that we protect you. Millions of them. They have seen your faces, heard your stories. They have watched Bora learning to smile again." Yuna looked at him in confusion. "How have they seen these things?" "A journalist named Sumin has been documenting everything since you arrived. He has broadcasted across all human networks. He showed the galaxy what the Assembly tried to hide, the truth about who you really are. Not burdens, people, families, children." Taesu pulled out a small device and showed her images. Yuna saw herself, looking tired but hopeful. She saw Elder Miru teaching children. She saw Bora holding hands with her human friend Jin Woo. She saw 3,000 Valari being welcomed, being fed, being loved. This is being watched by billions of humans right now, Taisu said. And they are angry. Not at you. At the assembly. At a galaxy that throws away innocent lives because it is convenient. But anger will not stop warships, Yuna said. No, but it will make us fight. The next day, Admiral G1 arrived at Nova. Bizon. She was a small woman with gray hair and eyes like iron. She commanded Earth's entire defense fleet. 12 ships against the Assembly's thousands. She met with Yuna privately. I need to ask you something, G1 said. And I need the truth. Ask, Yuna replied. If we fight for you, if we risk everything for your people, will you stand with us? Not because we demand it, but because you choose it. Yuna thought carefully before answering. We have nothing to offer. No ships, no weapons, no resources. We are exactly what the Assembly calls us, burdens. That is not what I asked. Ji-Won's gaze was steady. I asked if you would stand with us. Yuna remembered 2 years of rejection. She remembered every closed door, every turn back, every voice saying her people did not matter. And she remembered one small shuttle appearing in the darkness, one human voice asking if they needed help. Yes, she said. We would die for those who gave us life. G1 nodded slowly. That is what I needed to hear. Earth's Unified Council delivered their response to the Assembly the following day. The message was broadcast on all frequencies. Visible to every species in the galaxy. Dong-Ho spoke the words himself. Standing in the center of Nova Bizan with Valari and humans gathered behind him. The Galactic Assembly has demanded that we expel 3,000 innocent people. They have threatened us with sanctions and violence if we refuse. They believe we are too weak to resist, too primitive to matter. He paused, looking directly into the camera. They are wrong. The Valari came to us hungry, sick, and hopeless. They came because every other door in the galaxy was closed to them. They came because they had nowhere else to go. And we welcomed them, because that is who we are. His voice hardened. The Assembly says we must choose between our economy and our conscience. They say we must abandon those who trust us to save ourselves. They say we must become as cold and cruel as they are. He shook his head. We refuse. The Valari are our neighbors now. They are our friends. They are our family. And we do not abandon family. Around him, humans and Valari stood together. Yuna held Bora's hand. Elder Miro stood beside young Jin-Woo. Taesu stood with Hana. They were not two species anymore. They were one community. Send your fleet if you must, Dong-Ho said. Bring your warships and your weapons. We will not move. We will not surrender. We will not betray those who trusted us with their lives. He spread his arms to include everyone behind him. The Valari stay. Do your worst. Across human space, billions watched. And billions cheered. But far away, among the cold stars, the Assembly fleet began to move. 50 warships, more than enough to crush the human colonies. More than enough to teach these primitives their place. The countdown to war had begun. Yuna looked at the stars that night, knowing what was coming. She should have felt fear. Instead, she felt something strange and powerful rising in her chest. Pride. She was proud to stand with these humans. Proud to fight beside them. Proud to finally, after so long, belong to something worth dying for. Whatever came next, they would face it together. The galaxy rejected them. Humanity welcomed them in part 2. The welcome that this colony world appeared through the clouds like a dream Yuna had forgotten how to have. Green forests stretched across rolling hills. Blue rivers cut through golden fields. Mountains rose in the distance, their peaks touched with white snow. Nova Bizan. That was what the humans called their settlement. It sat in a valley beside a great lake, its buildings a mixture of tall towers and low houses. Smoke rose from chimneys. Lights glowed in windows. It looked alive in a way that Yuna had not seen in years. The refugee ships descended slowly. 3,000 Valari pressed against windows, staring at the world below with wonder and fear. Was this real? After so much rejection, could this possibly be true? Yuna stood at the front of her ship, Bora's hand tight in her own. The child had not released her grip since they left the dying vessel behind. But now, for the first time, Bora was looking forward instead of down. "It is beautiful," the girl whispered. Her voice was rough from years of silence. Yuna felt her heart break and heal at the same moment. "Yes," she said. "It is." The ships landed on a wide field outside the colony. As the doors opened, Yuna expected guards. She expected fences. She expected the coal processing centers she had seen on other worlds, the ones that turned away her people with stamps and paperwork. Instead, she found hundreds of humans waiting for them. They stood in organized groups, holding signs in both human script and badly translated Valari. "Welcome home. You are safe here. We are glad you came." Some held food. Others held blankets and warm clothing. Children waved small flags painted with both human and Valari symbols. A man stepped forward from the crowd. He was middle-aged, with gray in his hair and kindness in his face. He walked directly to Yuna and bowed deeply. "I am Dongho," he said. "I am the governor of Nova Bazan. On behalf of all our people, welcome to your new home." Yuna could not speak. Behind her, she heard her people beginning to cry. Not sad tears. Something else. Something they had forgotten. "I do not understand," she finally managed. "We have nothing. We cannot pay. We cannot work for months until we recover. Why are you doing this?" Dongho smiled gently. "Because you are here. Because you need help. Because that is what good neighbors do." He gestured to the waiting crowd. "We have prepared housing for all of you. It is simple, but it is warm and safe. We have food, medicine, and clothing. Our doctors are ready to help anyone who is sick. Please, come." The Valari walked into Nova Bizin like survivors of a long war. They moved slowly, carefully, as if the ground might disappear beneath their feet. Humans guided them with gentle hands and soft voices. No one pushed. No one shouted. No one treated them like burdens. Yuna watched a human woman kneel before a crying Valari elder. The woman wrapped a warm blanket around his shoulders and offered him a cup of something hot. The elder looked at her with confusion, then gratitude, then something that looked like peace. A medical center had been established in a large building near the landing field. Yuna saw humans in white coats moving among her people, checking for injuries and illness, offering food and water. A young woman approached her. She had a calm face and steady hands. "I am Hannah," she said. "I am a doctor. You must be Yuna. Taisu told us about you. He said you kept your people alive when no one else could." "I did what I had to do," Yuna said quietly. "That is what heroes always say." Hannah smiled. "Will you let me examine you? You look exhausted." Yuna wanted to refuse. She needed to watch over her people to make sure this was not a trick. But Bora tugged at her hand. "You should rest," the child said. "You never rest." It was the longest sentence Bora had spoken in 2 years. Yuna allowed Hannah to guide her to a quiet room. The doctor checked her vital signs, gave her nutrients she desperately needed, and brought her clean clothing. "Your biology is fascinating," Hannah said as she worked. "Very similar to ours in many ways. I think human medicine will work well for your people. You will recover. How do you know so much about us?" Yuna asked. "The galaxy shares no information about the Valari. We are not worth studying, We studied everything we could find before you arrived. Not because the galaxy told us to, but because we wanted to help properly. We wanted to understand you. Yuna stared at this strange woman. The other species never tried to understand us. They only wanted us gone. Then the other species were wrong. Hana said simply. In the days that followed, Yuna watched her people come back to life. The hungry began to eat. The sick began to heal. The frightened began to smile. She saw Elder Miru sitting in a garden, surrounded by human children. He was teaching them Valari songs, his old voice cracking but full of joy. The children listened with wonder, then tried to sing along. Their pronunciation was terrible, but Miru laughed instead of correcting them. They want to learn, he told Yuna later. These young ones, they are so curious about us. Not suspicious, not afraid. Just curious. It is strange, Yuna admitted. It is beautiful, Miru corrected. Bora began attending a school where human and Valari children learned together. On her first day, a human boy approached her. He had messy hair and a gap-toothed smile. I am Jin Wu, he said in careful Valari. Do you want to be friends? Bora looked at him for a long moment. Then she nodded. That evening, she ran to Yuna with excitement Yuna had never seen in her before. I made a friend, Bora announced. A real friend. He taught me a human word. What word? Yuna asked. Bora concentrated, then spoke carefully in the human language. Family. Yuna hugged the child tight, hiding her tears in Bora's hair. But happiness, Yuna knew, was fragile. And the galaxy did not easily forgive those who defied it. 3 weeks after their arrival, Taesu came to her with a troubled face. A probe from the Galactic Assembly found us, he said quietly. They know you are here. Yuna felt cold fear grip her heart. What will happen? They are sending a message to Earth's government. A warning. Taesu's jaw tightened. They want us to expel you. They say we must remove all Valari within 30 days or face consequences. Then we will go, Yuna said quickly. We cannot let you suffer for helping us. We will leave before. No. Taesu's voice was firm. You are not going anywhere. This is your home now. But the Assembly does not get to decide who we welcome into our family. He took her hands in his. You trusted us when you had no reason to trust. Now let us show you what that trust means. We do not abandon our own. Yuna looked at this human, this small creature from a small world who stood against the might of an entire galaxy. You will suffer for this, she warned him. Taesu smiled, though his eyes were serious. Maybe, he said, but some things are worth suffering for. That night, Yuna stood at her window and watched Nova Bizan glowing in the darkness. Somewhere out there, Bora was sleeping safely. Somewhere, Elder Miru was dreaming of the songs he would teach tomorrow. Somewhere, 3,000 Valari were finally, truly home. And somewhere among the stars, the Galactic Assembly was preparing to take it all away. But for the first time, Yuna was not afraid. Because she was not alone anymore. The galaxy rejected them. Humanity welcomed them in Part 1. The drifters. The ship was dying. Yuna knew this the way she knew her own heartbeat. She could hear it in the groaning walls, feel it in the flickering lights, taste it in the recycled air that grew thinner each day. The last breath. That was what they called their vessel now. 3,000 Valari souls packed into a ship built for 800. They had been drifting for 2 years, rejected by every world they approached. Yuna stood at the observation window, her pale fingers pressed against the cold glass. Her large dark eyes reflected the distant stars. Once, she had been a teacher. She had shown young Valari the wonders of the universe, the beautiful mathematics of orbiting planets, the poetry of cosmic dust. Now she taught them only one lesson, how to survive another day. Behind her, The command center hummed with desperate activity. Engineers fought to keep failing systems alive. Navigators searched for any world that might accept them. Medical officers rationed the last of their supplies. Yuna. A soft voice interrupted her thoughts. She turned to find Elder Meru standing beside her. He was old, his skin almost translucent, his movements slow and careful. But his mind remained sharp. He carried within him the memories of their people, the songs and stories of a world that no longer existed. "The food stores will last perhaps 10 more days," he said quietly. "The children are hungry." Yuna closed her eyes. The children. Always the children. They haunted her dreams, their small faces looking up at her with trust she did not deserve. How could she save them when she could not save anyone? "I know," she whispered. "I am trying." "You have tried for 2 years," Meru said gently. "You have done more than anyone could ask. But perhaps it is time to accept what the galaxy has told us." "And what is that?" "That we are unwanted. That we are, as the Assembly calls us, resource burdens. Perhaps our journey ends here, among the stars." Yuna felt anger rise in her chest. It was a familiar feeling now. Anger at the dying sun that consumed their homeworld. Anger at the Galactic Assembly that declared them unworthy of help. Anger at every species that looked at starving children and turned away. "No," she said firmly. "I refuse to accept that. There must be someone in this galaxy with compassion." An alarm suddenly filled the room. Red lights flashed across every surface. Yuna rushed to the navigation console where a young Valari named Kira was working frantically. "What is happening?" Yuna demanded. "Navigation failure," Kira said, her voice shaking. "The system has collapsed. I do not know where we are." Yuna looked at the screen. It showed nothing but static and meaningless symbols. They were lost in the void of space, with no way to find their path. "Can you repair it?" she asked. "I will try, but it may take days. And our power reserves—" She did not need to finish. Everyone knew their power was almost gone. Without navigation, they could drift into an asteroid field. They could fall into a sun. They could simply float forever in the darkness until the last light went out. Yuna gathered her people in the main chamber. 3,000 faces looked at her with hope she could not justify. She saw mothers holding babies. She saw old ones who had survived so much. She saw young ones like Bora, the orphan girl who had lost her parents during the Exodus. Bora was perhaps 8 years old. She had not spoken since watching her mother die. She simply followed Yuna everywhere, her small hand always reaching for comfort. "We have lost navigation," Yuna announced. "But we have not lost hope. We will repair the system. We will find a new world. We will survive." The words felt hollow in her mouth. She saw that her people knew it too, but they nodded anyway. They trusted her anyway. That trust was heavier than any burden she had ever carried. Hours passed. Kira worked on the navigation system, while others helped where they could. Yuna held Bora on her lap and watched the stars through the window. Somewhere out there, she thought, there must be kindness. The universe could not be entirely cruel. Then the communication system crackled to life. Everyone froze. The communication system had been silent for months. No one talked to them anymore. No one wanted to hear their pleas. A voice came through, speaking broken galactic common with a strange accent Yuna had never heard before. "This is Earth Outpost 7. We detect a vessel in distress. Do you need help?" Yuna stared at the speaker. Earth. She had heard of them. A young species from a small blue world. They had only recently joined the galactic community. They were weak, primitive, barely worth noticing, and they were asking if she needed help. "This is refugee vessel Last Breath," she responded slowly. "We are Valari. We have been rejected by the Galactic Assembly. We carry 3,000 of my people. We are dying." There was silence. Una felt her hope crumble. Of course, even these young ones had heard about the Vilari, the unwanted, the burden. Then the voice returned. "Understood, last breath. Please hold position. I am coming to you. My name is Tesu. I am sending coordinates for our colony world. You are welcome there." Una could not speak. Around her, people began to whisper. Welcome. That word had become foreign to them. Why? She finally managed to ask. "Why would you help us?" "Your assembly will punish you." The human's response was simple. "Because you need help." That is enough reason. An hour later, a small shuttle approached their dying ship. Una watched it dock through the observation window. Her people gathered behind her, afraid and hopeful at the same time. The airlock opened, and a human stepped through. Tae-Soo was not tall. His skin was tan, his hair dark, his eyes bright with warmth. He wore no armor. He carried no weapons. He simply walked into a ship full of desperate aliens and smiled. "Hello," he said. "I'm sorry it took so long for someone to find you." Una stared at him. This small creature from a small world, offering what the mighty galactic civilizations have refused. "You do not know us," she said. "You do not know what they say about us. We are burdens. We have nothing to offer you." Tae-Soo looked around the ship. He saw the hungry children, the exhausted elders, the broken systems and failing lights. He saw 3,000 people who had been told by an entire galaxy that their lives did not matter. "I see people who need a home," he said simply. "We have room. Will you come?" Bora stepped forward, the first movement she had made on her own in months. She looked up at the strange human with her large, dark eyes. Then she reached out and took his hand. Tae-Soo knelt down to her level and smiled gently. "Do not be afraid," he said. "You are safe now." Una felt tears running down her face. She had not cried in 2 years. She had forgotten how. "Why?" She whispered again. "Why are you doing this?" Tae-Soo stood, still holding Bora's hand. "On my world," he said, "we have a saying. We believe that strangers are just friends we have not met yet. You have traveled across the stars looking for kindness. I'm sorry the galaxy made you wait so long." He offered his other hand to Una. "Come," he said. "Let me take you home." And for the first time in 2 years, Una allowed herself to hope.